All right, and I believe our guest is here. I'm going to go do my introductions. Welcome to another episode of Skoden Talks with the Homies with your Auntie Sage. Today we have a special guest. Oh, hold on. Are we doing better? Audio good? I did have it on the dash. Good on the auntie. Good. Thumbs up. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2, mic check. Hello, yes, good. Okay. All right, let's do this again. Welcome to another episode of Skoden Talks with the Homies with your Auntie Sage. Today we have a lovely guest all the way from the beautiful islands of Hawaii. IP3 is an organization that provides nonviolent direct action training, campaign strategy, and community organizing tools to support indigenous communities taking action in defense of their homelands. For more information about IP3 or to send community training requests, you can visit our website at ip3action.org or contact info@ip3action.org. All right, let's see if our guest is here. Hello. Welcome, guests. At any time, if y'all have any questions for our guests and would like to ask our guests or anything, just pop in at any time. Hello.
Aloha. Aloha.
All right, we're both in the cars today.
Totally. If I find some shade and get away from the school because the kids is too loud.
Well, welcome to Skoden Talks with the Homies. Would you like to give a little introduction of yourself, a little bit of background, and whatever else you'd like for us to know about you?
Sure. Belina me ke aloha nui a kako a pau, o wau o Joshua, Lanakila o ka ʻāina ka pono Mangauil. Mai ka moku o Hawaiʻi ka pai ʻāina Hawaiʻi no Maunakea ko mauna no Waipi o ko kai. E kia ino wau, he alaka ino wau, he kumu hula no wau no ka halau hula o kuaunu. E ko ukuleana, he awamu wau, e hoʻomau ka ike Hawaiʻi, e ka ako I ka hoʻi ka mauli ola. So aloha everyone. It's an honor to be able to come and share with you all. My name is Joshua Lanakila o ka ʻāina I ka pono Mangauil, and I come from the Big Island of Hawaii in the Hawaiian archipelago. I am from the district of Hāmākua. I live on the northern slope of the sacred mountain Maunakea, and I grew up in the valley of Waipi. I am a teacher, I am a student, I am a protector, and I am an advocate, and my life's journey that I have found, my calling, is to continue to perpetuate the teachings of my ancestors and to bring them forward and to continue to haku, or to be a continuum to the continuum of what it is to be an indigenous person, and be sure to add our pages to our stories as a people, as well as to be supportive to all of our relatives across the world in the restoration of that mauliola, that indigenous life and wisdom. And with that, aloha everyone. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So myself, I am in the land of Alabama right now, and I'm actually working on stuff that is land back. I am working with Muskogee people that is buying land back, and they started an eco village here, and hopefully we can sit here and have them on sometime. But it is so nice to talk to other indigenous people that are working so passionately about doing that. And I've been so inspired being here in Alabama. So it's so great to talk to other people. And so I welcome you with open arms. And I know our guests are excited to hear your story and your journey. My first question for you, I was reading your bio and I was wanting to know, can you tell us about your experience and activism on Maunakea?
Oh yeah. So Maunakea is our most sacred mountain. It's actually the highest point in all of Oceania in the Pacific region. Maunakea is technically the largest or tallest mountain on the planet from the seafloor. And of course, being that highest point for us, it's very very sacred. It's been and it's has its sacredness has to do with a lot of different components. One, it is part of our Genesis story, our creation story. The mountain is a sibling, an elder sibling to the human race. The mountain child of Wakea, the heavens, and Papahānaumoku, the earth mother. And is Hiapo, the firstborn, before the coming of Kanaka, the coming of the people. And so we have this reciprocal relationship with this mountain to care for it. We look at the mountain as a piko. The piko is an umbilical or a central point of spiritual strength and mana. And as being, its height is very unique for the Pacific region, that it pierces above the realm of Papa, or above the earth realm, and into the upper atmosphere, creating what you could call it's a high alpine desert ecosystem. For us, it's referred to as the Vauakua. It's an area that's reserved for the gods. And our traditions, predominantly the most common practice and tradition with the Mauna, is that we stayed off the mountain, because the mountain was needed to remain kea. So in its name, Maunakea, kea is the word for purity. Some people would say, oh, it means white, because white mountain, because we have snow on the mountain. But Ke'o is a general for white. Kea has to do with pure untaintedness, and that's the waters particularly. So the mountain's very sacred to us also because it is a home of many of our water bodies, and our water goddesses. And part of my work as an educator too has been really even bringing our culture uh, to its pinnacle, and understanding it that most common when we get into science talk, Western perspective of science tries to discredit our spiritual beliefs, but when you really look at it, it's like, no, our spiritual beliefs is absolutely scientific and blows your shit out of the water. So catch up.
Yes.
So in a lot of ways, what we're talking about, even when we tell it in our traditional stories about the goddesses and how they lived here, we're literally actually telling stories of scientific observations of our people over thousands of years of understanding hydrology and movement of water and all these things. So in that, just to build a background as to why this mountain's so sacred for us, not to mention it's also a burial ground. It's where many ancestors have been buried way up in that upper region, so they're close to the heavens. It's also a place where we dedicate many of our children. For families of this side of the island, it's a practice to take the umbilical way up toward the summit of the mountain and in turn the umbilical into the mountain, so that we have that spiritual tether our whole life to this place. So there's so much levels of why this mountain is sacred. And just a real quick history, Maunakea has been under siege since the 1960s. The 1960s was the first time that the state looked at, they say, new opportunities for economic growth in Hawaii, and they opened up the mountain for astronomical sciences. So looking at telescope construction, a very small telescope was introduced to the summit on the mountain back in the late 60s. And it was very small, like about maybe just a little bit bigger than my truck. But unfortunately, a very low impact, but it opened up the doors for them to be like, ooh, look at what we got. And now over the years, we now have um, uh, 13 large giant telescopes on the summit of this mountain. And every one has been protested. Our Grupuna, our people fought against them. But of course, historically too, the Hawaiian Renaissance didn't even kick off the 1970s. So Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian language, all that was heavily subdued, especially since the illegal overthrow and the illegal occupation of the Hawaiian kingdom, which we're still under by the United States. That oppression and occupation stripped a couple of generations from actually having that that knowledge and wisdom of the sacredness of the mountain, and it also disempowered our people. So back in the 60s and the 70s, even though there were some individuals who advocated for it, you didn't have the tools to even gather our people together, to bring out, to speak up about these things. So all the way up until the 90s, with the last telescope was built, the Subaru telescope was built on the mountain. There was still proponents against it too, but it still got through. Basically now, they wanted to put, or they had planned to put, a 14th largest telescope, and this ridiculous. Like, this telescope would be the single largest building on our entire island. 18 stories high, which is 3 times the legal building height on this island, with a footprint of nearly 5 square acres. Massive construction project on the summit of a sacred mountain, not to mention land that's zoned as conservation. Now what they've hit, though, is a whole nother generation. A whole nother generation that is like, oh, hell to the fuck no. And we are the recipients of the sacrifice of a lot of our parents' generation and grandparents' generation, who they went through just the work of having to recover, even while they're already older, trying to grab their culture and get everything they can. I'm blessed to be one of the first young generations to have culture in my life from when I'm young. And so now we're at this age, and now we're looking at these things, but we're not just also coming from a cultural perspective, but we're hitting with every single cannon we got. So it's a really amazing too that they realize that it's not just a claim of Hawaiian spirituality or something which they try to just quickly discredit, but we're slamming on every single avenue. Our rights as Indigenous people, environmental laws and protections, Indigenous rights, access rights, all these different things that we're able to wield on them at this time. And not to mention nonviolent direct action. Maunakea has been one of the shining examples of, for us in Hawaii, but really for the world too, of nonviolent direct action being successful. We have the first stand to protect Mauna Kea's when they were going to begin construction in 2013. They were going to start with a groundbreaking ceremony. We shut it down. And that was heavy because they brought out a Hawaiian elder to come bless this destruction. And someone who I know, who I've loved, and then on the mountain, I ended up running up and over and stopping the whole ceremony. I had to kind of call this uncle out. I was like, uncle, no, love you, but no, we're not going to let this happen. And that was started it. And then when they still, a few months later, was about to bring the construction equipment up, I got called in the morning. I ran up that mountain, 13,000 feet, got in. They were able to drop off machines, but we began our stand that day. And at 9,000 foot elevation on our mountain, waking up with an inch of ice on our cars, we held ground for nearly 4 months, and hundreds of people came to that mountain. There was a number of different standoffs, but we were very committed to the sanctity of our mountain. So therefore, we had initiated something we call kapu aloha, which is a mandate to uphold the highest principles of everything that is aloha, which is love, which is care, which is respect. And in that, we disarmed those who would try to come. There was no reason, give them no reason to use force against us. Stand in our truth, stand in the sanctity of the place. Therefore, we do not condemn or contaminate the sacredness of this space either. And we held our prayers, we had our ceremonies, fought them off the mountain. It was 3 or 4 more years. We locked up with them in court systems, and so that system just kind of let them go again. Come 2019, they tried to come back. We were hopeful, like, if we can get 500 people, we can hold the mountain. First day, 5,000 people came.
Wow.
And over the next 9 months, we probably had nearly 100,000 people come to that mountain and hold space, and locked it up all the way till we all went home because COVID. So there's so much to it. Kalamai for taking sorry for taking along with that, but just to kind of share the nuance of balance of restoration of a cultural perspective, restoration of and educating ourselves to be able to fight in the legal arena, and just to kind of wrap up the question of advocacy and when it comes to Mauna Kea, simultaneously of the direct action, a number of us, we continue in every arena, like we said, and we were actually able to pressure the Hawaiʻi State Legislature, and the House representatives opened up an opportunity for, okay, organize, or let's put together a working group to say, okay, if you guys don't like how the mount has been managed, come up with a different plan. Then this is important. This is something I always encourage our peoples, all of our peoples. The best defense is come up with the best offense first. The biggest reason sometimes we are losing ground in our sacred places and stuff too is that we are not taking the initiatives ahead of time to create what we want to see, and we're just kind of sitting in a status quo sometimes, or just dealing with, which sometimes it's hard, because that's hard enough work sometimes just to make it, but we got to fight to create something else. So at least then when we created an idea, we had to fight for it. You know, we were scrapping out with some legislators and stuff too, but we came up with a plan, with a proposal. And in some cases, I was kind of like, they ain't gonna freaking go for this. You know, it centralizes the mountain is the most important thing. It removes the University of Hawaii, which is the one who's been selling out the mountain. Like, they're not gonna go for it. And the freaking governor passed it. We're like, oh shit, wow. It was also his last term. He was on his way out. I think he was like, freaking just give the Hawaiians a bone, let them try it. I was like, right on. So we got it. And then now, hey, we got it. Now what? Well, we better get it in the seats. So from being an elementary school teacher back in 2013, running up the mountain and just standing ground, all the way through this process, now in 2019, I've actually received the governor's an appointment to this new authority, and I am now the Hawaiian representative on the board overseeing the authority to Mauna Kea. Got a lot of work to do still, as we're still creating that, and we're still going. It's not a done deal stopping any TMT right now, but it puts us in a position of power to be able to create the frameworks. Which for me, I am confident that in the framework of how we steward and take care of a sacred place, of a high alpine desert ecosystem, of conservation land, there is no way that a advocacy through action and spirit, ceremony, and aloha. Hold on to that love.
There is no long-windedness here. We appreciate you, because honestly, it needs to be said. It needs to be doing that, because our guests, it might light a fire underneath them. I mean, everyone, like you said, everybody is like in a standstill. And to me, I feel like we're waiting on these newborn leaders to stand up. And it takes just a little bit, even just listening to someone, it can light something in someone. And, you know, maybe that might happen today. Hopefully it happens, because I mean, we do need new leadership, and it's a beautiful thing. And just to all of our guests, just again, if y'all have anything y'all want to ask during our interview, put it in the comments and we will get them read to them, and we will continue on. All right. In 2016, you founded the Hawaiian Culture Center of Hāmākua. Can you tell us how that got started and what great things have came out since the opening?
So interesting. So in 2012 or so, it was actually, I've been a teacher, a Hawaiian studies and a Hawaiian cultural teacher in our public school system for a long time. I graduated, I was blessed to be able to go to the very first Native Hawaiian public charter school. It opened up in 2000, which was Hawaiian Cultural Focus Education. And it only opened in the year 2000, so only my high school years was in that. I'm blessed that I was just able to be amongst a lot of great elders and teachers my life. But it lit something for me that I wanted to come back home to my hometown of Honoka'a, where I went to elementary, intermediate, and it was something interesting. Like, you know, the Hawaiian education movement, and as far as charter schools stuff, actually started in my hometown of Honoka'a. but the idea of like this education, but then ended up having to move to the neighboring town of Waimea just for funding and space. And I was like, oh shit, it always happens that Waimea get choke money, that's why over here. So they could, and my town where everything start, everything gotta leave. So I was like, frick that, I'm gonna reverse the flow. So after I graduated, I decided I'm going home. I'm gonna help my home, my community, because and so I became a teacher graduated 2005, became a teacher in the Department of Education in 2004, became a teacher in 2005. And I started teaching Hawaiian culture in elementary. And over the next couple of years, that bloomed to elementary, intermediate. And then by 2009, I was teaching K through 12.
Wow.
And it was, oh God, when you teach elementary like that, you start to realize how fast you get old. Because then I was like, some of my original people say, hey, uncle, we're graduating. I was like, from what? Like high school? Like, oh, you were my baby. Oh my God. But being a teacher, especially the Hawaiian studies teacher, because we do the mo'olelos, the stories, and kids are sharing with their families, and that was something I always made homework for the kids. Was after we learn a story, your homework, go tell your family the story.
Yeah.
We would go make one hana no iao, a craft. Your homework, go show mama how to go make one.
Yeah.
And so it was sparking for their parents too, who were members doing that kind when they were kids. And so it started to generate a lot of questions or an interest from adults. So I had a lot of family and even elders asking, hey, can we have a class? The kids come home, tell me all this stuff. I like to learn too. So I started doing community classes, and sometimes we just meet at the park, or I was also started working at the youth center. And so we used to host a big, like, womb to tomb education. Basically, it was everybody just come together. It was beautiful to see elders and their grandbabies, and even their 3 generations coming to hula or language classes. And it was one uncle who used to walk through town and he would see us at the gardens or somewhere. He goes, you guys should create your own center. I was like, why not? So I just threw it up on Facebook. Hey, everybody get together if you like talk about one idea, one center. And just a whole bunch of people just showed up at this meeting, and native people, non-native people, locals, transplants. It was, everyone who saw the desire to wanting to contribute to that. And over the next year or so, we kind of threw some ideas around. So I say, when you say like community effort, grassroots, I was like, okay, yeah, we was like subterranean because we don't know all this kind of stuff. So I was like, hey, Auntie, you do the kind the clerical work at the hospital, yeah? You can help with books over here. Just kupa people of this town just trying to organize so we can make a space. And very blessed that we were, all these different facets of our community came together. And in 2015, we rented a little space and we opened up our own little cultural center. And you quickly moved to a nice bigger space next door, and we opened up this beautiful space in town in a historical building, and it was just became like a gathering place in the heart of our town. We maintained a visitor center. We were the only visitor center in the north side of our island, especially that was cultural based, and we just hosted all kind of stuff. It was a community space that always was wrapped in Hawaii. Our walls were always decorated with Hawaiian art, with local things and educational displays. And we had language classes, art classes, hula classes. We hosted health classes and cooking class, and just whatever the community needed, we did that. And we rocked it all the way and even in that time in 2019 when the Mauna blew up, the cultural center became like the hub for a hub place on island because it was such a political thing and nobody else wanted to touch it. No one else wanted to make Mauna stuff because it was too political. I was like, bring it on over. Shit, we host them. And it became a central point of ceremony in the heart of our town too.
Awesome.
But nonetheless, it held that space all the way up until COVID. And when COVID hit us, it was really hard. We couldn't open the doors. Yet that place also cost me like $4,000 a month. So it was, rather than drain all of our accounts, we ended up letting go of the physical space. And we've evolved now. So we're actually no longer called the Hawaiian Cultural Center of Hāmākua. We've evolved. Our name is called Ho'a. Okina A. And you can look us up online too. Ho'a Hawaii. We have our Instagram page, Facebook, and our website in there too. But it's kind of just like basically everything the cultural center was now without the shell. We're just like we're moving, and so I continue that type of work. We have a couple different programs and campuses that we're creating now. I traded in a 4,000 square foot building place. Now I get like 70 acres farm over here. We got a 4-acre farm in the valley. We get 5 acres of native forest restoration work. We got 3 acres of ancient taro field restoration. It's like, yeah, yeah. And we work with the schools and just whatever and any way that we can kako'o. There's programs that we do out in the diaspora. We're connecting with a lot of our people who are on the continent who have been displaced from Hawaii, whether they're online classes. A lot of times, too, I work with organizations who just hui up and they're like, we got a bunch of Hawaiians up here want to learn their culture. I was like, all right, I'm coming. And we will just make it work. We do cultural exchange. For a long time, we've maintained exchange with the Hopi Nation, the Pit River Nation of Northern California. We have a number of ceremonies and exchange with Japan. We've brought into the fold through ceremony. We even have a program I do and this was big for me because a lot of us we've been colonized predominantly by white cultures, but it opened up interesting. We have a culture exchange program in Poland, in the heart of Central Europe. And over the couple of years, it's helped to expand my mindset and many others too, that there is indigeneity there. They've just been colonized a lot longer than us. And unfortunately, they see something. So we've helped to spark a Slavic renaissance in the heart of Poland. And the exchange that we do amongst indigenous people. And it's beautiful to see, like, even some of the efforts of helping them. They're wanting to learn about my culture was a bit, okay, well, you're not going to get it unless you understand yours. So it kind of was like an exchange that has actually helped them expose or understand a lot of things that they didn't know before, they couldn't decipher before because they had like a Catholic dominant oversight or under that time. But being able to just have a kind of a little more of a earth-based indigenous view, they were able to look back at things that have been in front of them their whole life, and now they're like, oh, I get it. And now they're like supporting the work to protect Białowieża, which is the oldest old growth forest in all of Europe, is in Poland. And a lot of my students are fighting to help protect that forest, regrounding with their ancestral knowledge as Slavic people. And sorry, look, long wind again. Yeah, excited. There's a lot of fun things. And we just, anyways, like this too. I'm kind of the center of everything that's Ho'a. It's kind of like what I do and help to spark and help to support. And in that too, that's like putting myself, sometimes part of my work is it's like no one else willing to take that step. I'll go take the step then. Yes. I wanna lift up my Tita, Miss Lady Shook, Cousin Shook. I got to meet her on a beautiful stepping out there. Some of you guys might have saw I was on the episode of We're Here, the Hawaii episode. That was fun, but also getting to share our story of our mahu, the realm of mahu or two spirit in our culture as well, and holding that space and getting to share because everybody else would be too scared about that. I do them. If I gotta be the guinea pig, I be guinea pig. If we help to break open conversations, open up to Ho'a. So Ho'a, the name of this org, Ho'a, and I love these fire flames coming up. Someone's liking on the side here because Ho'a means to ignite. It literally means ignite. Yeah. We have a lot of things that we want to see, that we dream about, cultural practices that we read about. Well, they're not going to live until you light it up. Yeah. Ho'a. Sorry, long wind again. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was going to bring it up, but I was going to wait that to the end. But yes, I wanted to bring it up about the We're Here. So you were Bob the drag queen's daughter on the episode?
I love Bob, Mama Bob. Yes. It's a blessing. Yeah.
We're going to have to check this out. I got to see you all dolled up.
Oh, you got to see. One thing, kind of behind the scenes that I'll just share. I really want to aloha Mama Bob because it was beautiful. One thing that I really appreciated about Bob too was how much She really, really like listened. And like we'd share with her one day, and then she come back and she's like using the Hawaiian words like correctly. I was like, oh wow, just like loving that. She was really engaging in such a beautiful way. And I'm not gonna give the name away unless you never see him yet. But she actually came up with my name. We were trying all kinds of stuff around, and then she went and throw the name out there, and it's like get some Hawaiian in that, and like she went and sent them. I was like, love you, mama. So, but really helping to break so many barriers and open up the conversations and show our relations, in so much better ways.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. I did not know. I was gonna say Little Birdie, but it was Shook.
Yeah.
All right, to shift gears just a little bit. Recently, Maui had the devastating fires. What is the current situation, and what actions and efforts are being made?
So, Maui it's been such a deep hit to the heart of our community here. There's so many lives lost and so much history lost in that place, and of course the major displacement of so many families just so quickly. But it's also exposed a lot of the long abuse of that environment. So try not to open up everything, but little history. Lahaina, that area of Maui, at one point was the capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom, back in the early 1800s, or early mid 1800s, early 1800s, and in that first time, during that time when we were heavily being opened up to the world and everything, Lahaina's kind of famous for being, it was like the whaling capital, like all the whaling ships would come into Lahaina, but it was also heavily became plantation, and with that, Lahaina, I've heard different perspectives, and again, I will. Disclaimer, I am not from Maui. I am not from Lahaina, so I don't mean in any way to speak on behalf of those families and such too. They have their ohana there, but just from what I know and what has been shared with me. But one thing that we know is Lahaina wasn't really a name that was attributed to the wide scape of that area, and it's a little more of a name that came out more because it really means like the intense sun, Lahaina. But that's something that's after the terraforming of that environment, because prior to that, an old name that you hear, the traditional name, one of the traditional names is Malu'ulu Olele. And Malu'ulu Olele, Lele actually being a name of more of the wider area there, but Malu is the shade of the ulu trees, under the shade of the breadfruit trees. And that landscape was actually, even in early ship logs described, it was a very lush place. Coming out of these beautiful valleys, the rivers that came down, and because of the amazing agricultural, food forest, permacultural practices of our people, that place was so rich, and verdant fields and crops and trees and forest, that it wasn't this dried out area like what we see today and what most people know as. That's the result of the clear cutting of the old forest and the old Hawaiian agriculture for like sugarcane plantations and pineapple plantations. At which most of that whole kind of shut down over the years. However, that water, what also did is they diverted so much of that water that used to come out of the mountains there, and for the sugar and all that production, that it's dried out the landscape. And fire has been a regular thing over there way too often over the years. However, this one just accompanied with that passing hurricane that we had, that fire caught while there was like 75-mile-an-hour winds coming off of this hurricane that passed by. So it was just intensified greatly. But again, it was just poor planning, the poor infrastructure, the lack of proper land stewardship, and really a lot of that has to do with the displacement of a lot of the native people and the Hawaiian people from their homes. over the generations, people were just kind of confined down into the town of Lahaina, but used to live all up Mauka. Just kind of paint that history that we're already dealing with the environment there that went up and that kind of caused this big fire is a result of colonization. Was the drying out, displacement of people, and therefore the lack of care of these lands. But so that is coming up a lot, as right now we're getting to that point where the people of Maui, of Lahaina, are talking about and having to address, like, where do they go? You know, how do we build back? The fire, the burn site itself is heavily toxic because of, again, there's all the chemicals and everything that goes in the building and that went up in flames. It's not clear yet how soon the idea of actually building back on their actual old home sites is possible anytime soon. But the biggest threat that the community is raising alarms on, and what became evident very quickly, was the lack of care by the government itself. The people, the everyday on-the-ground people, even neighboring islands, activated faster than the county or state governments did. I mean, people rallied and was like they were stopping people from driving into Lahaina, into the area, of course, kind of somewhat understandably. It's kind of a danger zone. But to get supplies to people who were in there. So it was local people jumped on their boats, went around, and Coast Guard trying to turn the boats away. They're like, fuck you, brah. And they went straight on in, landed those boats, and got food, water, supplies to the people who were there. To see just the slow turtle response by the state and the government was absolutely atrocious. Everybody blaming each other. And then when Red Cross comes in and FEMA and all this stuff, just such inadequate process and bureaucracy beyond compare that just slows everything down. And of course, what does that do to a people who already just went through literally fucking hell, that have lost their homes, that have lost loved ones? It was so horrible, and especially to feel so much helpless on nearby, like, what can we do? And trying to support those who were able to get there. So it also was an absolute atrocity to the people, where you had, out of the blue, some rich white motherfucker who owns all this land over there just happened to be able to send his own little direct email directly to the governor and the head of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. This rich white guy is blaming a native Hawaiian that serves as a commissioner on the Board of Water Supply, blaming him for, they didn't let us access the water because, there's too much water going into the rivers. That's why we didn't have enough water to fight the fire. Absolute horseshit. But the governor and the DNR, they just took this guy's word for it and moved that guy out of office and everything too. But also, here's a little thing behind everything. There's no more sugar plantation, no more pineapple plantation, but that water, there's a new plantation now. It's called hotels, tourism, and rich mansions. All over Mauka, above Lahaina town, are all these mega mansions being built with their big, in the desert, big luscious gardens, big old fucking swimming pools, and then literally, just gotta look, from Lahaina town that went up in flames, barely a mile, 2 miles up the road, luscious golf courses and landscaping and big freaking resorts right there. Even now, over nearly 75% of all the water in East Maui is under private control, and by these large land developers and these hotels. 75% of the water. So that last 25% of water is what's supposed to go to all the rest of the general public, the county, and back in our rivers, because there's a big effort to try and restore the rivers, because that's like important for the whole entire life cycles and bringing it back. So that little 25% of water is all that's left for everything else, the natural, and try to take care of the actual people. 75% going to these freaking mansions and hotels. So I know one of the big things a lot of people might have seen is a lot of big push from the local communities telling people like tourists and stuff, bro, don't freaking come here right now. No, we're suffering. And all they can say, oh, well, we need economic stability because, the multi-billionaires that own the hotels, they can't afford to pay out of their own pocket to the workers or to help to support their workers. So that's been some of the most vexing things during this, and how so quickly the governor was pushing to reopen access to the hotels so they can get the tourists back into Maui, while at the same time you still have displaced people. They kind of had to twist the hotel's arms, but being able to house some of the Lahaina residents in the hotels. And then like this effort to like, now they might get displaced from the hotels. They don't know if they have a place to stay, where are they going to go. It's just been absolutely abuse. So basically like plantation mentality, borderline enslavement of a people, is still prevalent today. It's like, you don't count as a human being. You're just here to be the workforce. And your resources is just here to serve the mega wealthy. So there has been just, the fire has also, in some ways, it's not like this also just happened. It's been happening. And some of us who have been kind of like trying to see how we can help to support the Lahaina community and seeing what we can do, we're also learning like, holy crap, the level of control over the government, over the resources and stuff by these mega wealthy landowners in Maui is scary. So, but it's been exposed. The fire has exposed it. It's been like that for a long time, but it's exposed this now. So that's kind of where it is right now. We're just kind of take the Lahaina communities. There's some very strong advocates and people on the ground there who have been helping to support people. There's been some great hubs set up to help people through their paperwork, insurance, navigating through the FEMA. And so things are kind of calmed in that direction, but now they're rearing up to help to try. That's where a lot of us who are off island, we're trying to take their lead. How can we help support them to advocate for water, for healthy build back? And we're very scared because some of you guys might have heard too, some people were getting calls literally the day after the fire, getting calls by random real estate agents on the continent and other places like, oh, well, buy your property. Just disgusting like that, the lack of humanity that we saw, basically being pushed by capitalism. So yeah, it's a learning right now. We're just doing the best that we can. I know I have us who are off island to just find ways to continue to support the families and the people on the ground there in Maui to kind of take their lead of what they need and where we can help to advocate for them, and just try to be as supportive as we can through this process. And yeah, that's kind of where we are for Maui right now.
Wow. Man, that was a lot.
Yeah. Everyone is on big question. I'm a teacher, so my I gotta give the background and everything. My brain goes into teacher mode.
It was great. Thank you so much, Nyale, for that. Let's switch gears again, just to get off of topics and something so serious. One question I always like to ask my guests: what is a favorite Hawaiian or indigenous dish that you've tasted anywhere else? What is a favorite indigenous dish that you like to take, or that you like to eat, or like to fix?
One that always comes back to me is when I was in Hopi, they have this dessert called sumiviki. It's a blue corn dessert that they make, sumiviki. Oh, it's so yummy. I mean, I loved it. The taste is similar to what we have. We have it called kulolo, and it's like a pudding that we bake it. And it's actually, the sumiviki is baked with the blue corn, and I don't really remember everything that was in it. But they also they prepare it like in a ground kind of a oven with the corn stalks. Our kulolo is made with kalo, our staple food, and some coconut and everything, and it's also baked. It's very similar, but that was so it's like one that comes to me real quick. Yeah, sumidiki. is one of my favorites. Yeah.
Blue corn is just a beautiful dish. We've got one it's like a gravy and we put pecans in it and we
Mm.
eat it as like a breakfast. Oh, so good.
Oh, yum yum.
So, what is in your future anythings in the works that you would like to mention, or is there
Mm.
anything in the near future?
Um, Near future. Well, right now, like I kind of mentioned that we have these new campuses that we're building up, and I'm really excited for. It's kind of come out of COVID, or from COVID. You know, kind of seeing how many people were going hungry around here was crazy. And, like we don't have a lot of food, direct access to food, which is so weird. We've lived on these islands for like 2,000 something years, and suddenly we have COVID and we don't have food. So, but we have this 70 acres that we're trying to get the stewardship of, and we've already began planting, and that's gonna. We've been planting a lot of these native foods again, and trying to restore this place and creating a massive food forest. But also in this place is where I bring my dancers and our hula dancers and our chanters, and where I'm coming to set up and bring those classes back and bring those practices back to life in this space. And that's what I'm super, super excited about, to be able to get moving on that. Um, uh, yeah, that's a cool project I'm really excited about. I think the other one that's really fun is I have been preparing for some time. I've been trying to learn how to do it. In fact, I think I saw my friend on here, Ayala Mama. I think she was watching here a little bit. My friend, good friend, Kaleno here, Cleghorn. We've been doing some online classes. Okay, I am so not techie. Um, but to help increase the opportunities for cultural exchange and learning and sharing, even for our Kanaka Maoli and in the diaspora. Been learning how to get better on this gadgets, so to do online education and online teachings and sharings, and so we have a couple of projects coming up to be able to offer workshops and such online, and with that being able to teach around the world, to anyone around the world, and share and have that exchange, and yeah, I think it's an interesting time right now, especially for our generation to take on that important role, because we are setting the template for the generations coming up. And I just want to lift a prayer right now for, of course, the hardship and these wars that we're observing right now, these occupations. And it's so strange when we are still so connected via these tools are supposed to be here to connect us, yet somehow we still seem to be so divided. So trying to expand and build those prayer bridges that also can serve as uniformed bodies or movements of action to really help to create real action, bring the prayers into action, to help to support and protect peoples all around the world. So for me, on the higher intention of this idea of opening up for more global opportunities of learning through these kind of medians. It's an exciting project. I'm going to get my hands wet in, but me and computers, that's why I was like, Tita, you go set them up. And I mean, you would scare me. You're like, oh my God, we use the IP3D. I was like, oh, wait, is that something else? Wait, what am I supposed to look for? Is there a button? I don't know. Uh,
I am I am the same way. I believe we're in the same age bracket or the same origin of and I'm the same way. My niece, like I have an iPhone, and my niece, like she'll get on my iPhone and shows me all kind of stuff, and I'm like, I do not know my phone does that. So
it's like, it may be a smartphone, but that doesn't help me.
I'm not a smart auntie. So.
uh,
And
totally.
then Lady Drag asks if will you be doing drag again, and when's your next drag show?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Okay, maybe I like. So I actually had my first next appearance this past when was that, a couple months ago on Oahu. Oh, it was actually a fundraiser for Maui. We did, and so next time I got dressed again, and I was like, all right, I can do it. That was fun, but I always love to celebrate the art. And actually, a number of years back, we actually hosted a couple of drag shows in my hometown. I mean, I wasn't doing drag or anything, but I hosted it as a fundraiser for some of our programs. And some people have been asking me again, so I was thinking, oh, maybe I can host one. And normally we do it in like December or January, so I'm thinking we might have a special Hawaii drag show again, and maybe a certain somebody will make another appearance.
I mean, I do tour with Lady Shook, so maybe we can get the La La Land
And
Act to come.
maybe we have some other natives come on down, right?
I would love to. I mean, who doesn't love a good trip? If y'all will have us.
Oh, okay. We go touch base. We go touch base. Shug,
Okay.
we go touch base, girl.
All right. Well, we are getting close to our closing. Is there anything you would like to plug, or how could anyone reach out if interested in knowing more of anything or what you've got going on, or if there's any way we could fund or help you?
Well, you know, I would say if I invite everyone to just to kind of check out my website. It's hoa-hawaii.com.org. One of them. Try them both. You always forget that. And or you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Especially this is that's. I cannot bear to think of having to learn one more app or something, but that's kind of my platforms that I'm able to share at. And you know, I encourage everybody. For me, it's been an honor to serve always. At the same time, we need everyone to. Oh my God, I was about to say this word. Oh, vavai ole. Okay, I was going to say viva ole. Viva ole is to be brave. You know, we must be brave in this time to stand in our truth and to awamo, to take on the burden, well, that's what they say, the burden, but it's not a burden. It always becomes a blessing. When we find these aspects of our culture, of our histories, you know, as a living Hawaiian today, you know, I understand the importance. We uphold our culture and our traditions, but we're not dead and gone. So we're not bound to the historical documentation of being this sole way that we are to live. It's like, no, we're continuing to create history. So we continue to write new songs, we write new chants, we create new ceremonies as needed. We are living in a different time and age, and so we need to create through the continuity of who we are as a people, as peoples who have responsibilities of identity, of relation to our places. We need us all to reclaim that power. We must reclaim what that is, because the world put us in our places and gave us our tongues, gave us our languages, gave us our traditions. I always say tradition isn't just something that the humans made. It is what our ʻāina, what our different environments taught us. And that's why it's beautiful. Our diversity is beautiful, because diverse ecosystems is health. Monocropping ain't good. Yeah. So it's healthy, and we must pick that up. And I encourage that even I say this too because I work with a lot of even non-natives who may be, you know, have transplanted into new places or something. In a way that you can be a good ally. One, be a good listener and listen and watch more than you talk. It's always a big one. But for me, a hint of indigeneity, or an ideology for me of what indigeneity is when a human population, or when a human has achieved symbiosis with said environment. When we have achieved healthy, balanced symbiosis, where we as an indigenous people, we can call ourselves indigenous because we became an intrinsic part of that ecology of a place. When we, like any environment, if you all of a sudden take a native bird out of that environment, it disrupts the environment. When you take a native plant out of that, it disrupts the environment. When you take the native people of that place out, it disrupts the environment. We were in these places. We were an intrinsic part of. We were not the landowners. Yeah. The land owned us. We are its children. Yeah. And so when we find ways that if we can restore that idea of indigeneity, it is that we have restored our relationships with our waters, with our mountains, with our rivers, and we are doing our part. I have a joke that I always say over here as we're doing this stuff. And then I found out later that straight people talk about it differently. But I was like, I'm a beaver. I was like, people were like, wait, what? I was like, I didn't know that beavers have meant something else someplace else. But I was like, oh, okay. But for us, like a beaver, our rivers, our streams and stuff, a lot of places that we're doing this restoration work of our ancient taro fields. And first thing we had to do was clean the river. And when I was working with some scientists and I wanted them to help come do the whatever, I tried to make this fast, sorry. They come like, oh, well, we need to do a study. We got to get like the baseline, the natural state. I was like, what do you mean natural state? It's like, well, we got to get above where there's any human activity. I said, why? Well, so we can get natural. It's like, you're saying I'm not natural to my environment. Because you go upriver, get all this introduced plants. That's all human impact already. Mm-hmm. And so it's human impact or human involvement. Are you trying to erase me? I am. We are the people. We're the one species with the opposable thumbs that can come in, and when we look at all this area where all the leaf debris and the trees have clogged the river, there was a native species that cleaned it up. We did. We came, we cleaned it, and we cleaned our waterways, and we also built our dams to help feed our taro fields. At the same time, we maintained the river, and the whole ecology that we supported, the life of the ecology of the place that we supported in our agriculture, we was the beavers. We were the native species increasing the wetlands and supporting the ecology. And so as humans, we have to find ourselves, restore that right balance and relationship with place. And the best template for all of you who might maybe not native to a place, you go and you listen and you learn from the people of the place. If you're going to be there right. Okay? So, that's for all of us. Yeah. We're going to be native right. Yeah. So, in all our magic ways, and with that, mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being my guest today. It has been a blessing to hear you speak. And
mahalo for having me.
If I do make it to Hawaii, I'm gonna come to classes too. I wanna learn. Like
Absolutely. Well, let's keep in touch. I have to bring you over, and then also to I gonna get good with the digital ting, and you guys can can have classes on the computer ting.
Well, we'll come to your classes, and me and Lady Shook will give you some drag teachings too, so we can have a good show.
Hola. Everyone.
All right. Well, many blessings, and I hope you have a good day. I know you have another class to go teach, but I wish you to have a very good day and a rest of your week too. So thank you so much again for joining, and thank you all for joining another episode of Skoden Talks with Your Homies with your Auntie Sage. So we will see y'all next time. Have a good day. Have a good night. We'll see y'all next time.
Hi, mahalo. Aloha kako. Ahui ho.